What's up everyone, welcome back to McSolaar TV. Welcome to another video. This is going to be a free mastering lesson, actually stem mastering lesson, free for everyone, and then there's going to be some additional content for members only. I got a lot of requests to cover some reggae content since I've been doing a lot of reggae these days for my clients, and so here we are. Before we start, check the info box down below. If you want to book mix and mastering with me, go to the website. In there you can also find all the mix and mastering courses, and if you want to access the exclusive library of in-depth mix and mastering videos, including the extra content for this course, click the join button, become a MixBus TV member, and if the videos are helping you, please consider using the super thanks or grab some merch. Let's get to it. All right, like I said, this was a stem project. I had 3 stems. I had instrumental at the top, background vocals in the middle, and lead vocals at the bottom. This mix was good, but had some minor issues. The production told me they wanted to do something on the background vocals, and actually I found that the lead vocal also had a little problem. Everybody was happy, so let's take a look at what happened. Before doing that, let's take a look at the mix, because I was also provided the full mix, not split in stems, and the master, and compare the two. The mix is the one in yellow here, and the master is the one in pink at the bottom. Let's play them.
Said I had a vision of them system burning, burning and burning. Yes, I had a vision of the tables turning, turning and turning. African children around the world, now is the time, this is the year of return. Yes, I had a vision of the system burning, burning and burning. I don't know why we've been moved like Nairobi traffic. Mental slave get recruit and it's very tragic. I them rebuke through we study magic. And I liberate the youth from them cinematic false depiction of the topic. Them cannot deceive our eyes, we see the lies. Ready to see the light, give me the visa price, me need a flight. No, me no need no hype. African son for African sons and daughters, don't get caught up. Just remember the words of Marcus, literary corpus. And a vision of them system burning, burning and burning. Yes, I had a vision of the tables.
All right, cool. Always puts me in the best mood working on reggae. I love it. Right off the bat, you should have noticed many quite massive differences between the mix and the master. And mind you, as you can see from my level, I lowered my master by 8 dB. So we are matching peak level compared to the mix. That is simply more density, more harmonic content, and everything that happened in a master. The actual volume of the master, if I was to put it to 0, would be, the difference of course would be overwhelming. There's no need to do that. It's not even excessively loud. This is not a song that needed to be pushed at -4 or 5. I think the master ended up being a conservative -7, maybe -6 in some parts, which is plenty loud for a song like this. And there is of course some analog on this, nothing too crazy. We will see all the settings, and we will see all the settings for the plugins, and the analog is not just on the final sum of the stems, but we have something on the background vocals and on the lead vocals as well. So for now, I'm gonna bypass everything that is on the master, so on the sum of the 3 stems, and we're gonna see the processing for each stem, starting from the instrumental, which was fine. It didn't need much, no correction really, just one minor thing you will see, but it was mostly enhancement. What I felt like I was missing on the instrumental was a little more punch on the kick. We have a really nice round, powerful bass, but the kick I felt needed to hit a little harder, which would have been a nightmare before split EQ was invented. With split EQ, is literally a matter of seconds. And as you can see, I'm pushing a bell at 100 Hertz, 4 dB, medium Q, but only on the transient side of the EQ. Now, this would seem easy, and it is easy, but the key when doing something like this with split EQ is how you set these parameters here at the bottom. Separation, decay, and smooth. These are absolutely key if you want to enhance only the kick drum in an instrumental, so you don't have access to the element itself. And I usually solo this one, and I really fine-tune my separation, my decay, and my smooth control. So let's hear it with or without. This is without, only instrumental. Okay, it should be pretty obvious, although remember we are mastering, even though we are doing stem mastering, so more processing than the usual stereo mastering. We are not trying to make the kick hit harder than the bass or go on top of everything, right? I just wanted to match the energy. Without it, the kick feels a little behind. With it, the kick feels where it should be compared to the bass. And we can listen to it again so you can pay attention to this relationship. It gels with the bass a lot better. And the only other move that I did here, that's the correction, so to speak, that I was talking at the beginning. I just low passed a little bit the top end here at 18K because the hat was a little too piercing, and it's not a little too piercing when you hear it now by itself, but it's a little too piercing when I add my analog processing on the bus, on the summing bus at the end, because as you heard from the comparison mix versus master, the lead vocal in the mix was a little too dual for the genre. He also had a specific issue that we'll see in a minute, but overall I needed to lift the whole thing a little bit and make it a little brighter and give it a little more clarity. And that hat, so extended, was my ceiling. I couldn't push the top end on the whole thing because the hat was coming out too much compared to everything else. So I had to shave off a little bit that brightness at the top. Super easy, and this was all I've done on the instrumental side. Now let's take a look instead at the background vocals, because the background vocals, the production told me before I even started, there is a low harmony that pops out too much. It's too loud. See if you can do something about it. Unfortunately, I could fix it. Let's see how I did it. All right, let's take a listen. It's not always present, that low harmony, but when it's present, it's quite loud.
Ja-la-la, ja-la-la-la. Ja-la-la, ja-la-la-la. Say no hesitate, and gon' protect my head. Go build your homestead.
All right, the first processing is Autotune vocal EQ. And this is without, we are gonna just solo this part here.
Burning and burning.
And this is with it.
Burning and burning.
All right, already we are ducking that low harmony a little bit.
Burning and burning. Burning and burning.
And as you can see, I'm having vocal EQ to track that lower fundamental where the low harmony is. So it kind of does the job for me. Once you set attack and release correctly, it's just a matter of how much. We're probably lowering about 6 dB. Second thing, it's a little harsh. You can see there's a lot of bleed from the headphones, which I had to clean. But overall, these background vocals have a little bit of speedy transient, and it's not really a problem by themselves, but when you add the lead vocal, which of course has the same consonants and the same S's in the same place, it adds up. And again, we are going to brighten the entire thing. We need to take care of that before we are feeding them to the hardware. So 2 bands the S-in.
Them cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Can I deceive our eyes? We see the lies. Ready to see the light. Give me the visa price. We need a flight. No, we don't need no hype. African song.
Right, and there's a lot of S's, okay? So without.
Them cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Can I deceive our eyes? We see the lies. Ready to see the light. Give me the visa price. We need a flight. No, we don't need.
With it.
Them cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Can I deceive our eyes? We see the lies. Ready to see the light. Give me the visa price. We need a flight. No, we don't need no hype.
All right, super smooth. It doesn't annihilate the S's. It reduces the energy a little. And as you can see, I have 2 bands going. The first one is from 7.6K and up. And the second one is centered. The corner frequency is around 5K. So the k and the ch sounds is the lower band, and the actual S's is the high band. Next one, we have our first piece of hardware for the background vocals. And actually we have 2 pieces of hardware. We have the API 5500 and also one of my 2 Fatsos, which we are gonna see the settings in a second. And as you can see here from my Wolf audio patch, I'm doing obviously only 1 round trip because I put the 5500 and the Fatso in the same chain. Now it says M Core because I didn't change the name, but that's actually the Fatso. We're going to see it in a minute. What I'm doing with the 5500, you can see I have it set in 1/4 of a dB per click. So we have 1 dB and a half here in shelf at 7K with the first band, and half a dB here at 180 in the low mid band. This is to add a little bit of body to those background vocals, and this is to add a little bit of brightness. And again, I took care of the S's before feeding the analog gear. And after the API, we're going into the Fatso to further smooth out the top end and give it a little more energy. So let's take a look at the settings. All right, we have it going. As you can see, I'm doing just a little bit of compression in bus mode, and I am lighting up the second amber light here, which is the saturation and the color. But what I'm using here, again, is the warmed circuit, which is basically an analog de-esser, okay? And as you can see, it's taking care of the harsh consonant again and smoothing out all the harsh range. So let's hear it with and without. We do the API first.
Them cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Can I deceive what eyes we see the lights? Ready to see the light? Give me the visa price, we need a flight. No, we don't need no hype. African son for African sons and daughters, don't get caught up. Just remember the words of Marcus, it or Barry Corpus. Them cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Can I deceive what eyes we see the lights? Ready to see the light? Give me the visa price, we need a flight. No, we don't need no hype. African son for African sons and daughters, don't get caught up. Just
all right, so the API adds energy in the mid-range, just the box tone itself, and then a little bit more body and voice on the 180, and that top end it's a little brighter. To take care of that top end boost, there's the Fatso. So let's see the Fatso in action. And also I'm using the transformer on the Fatso, I forgot to mention, to add again extra harmonics in it.
Them cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Can I deceive what eyes we see the lights? Ready to see the light? Give me the visa price, we need a flight. No, we don't need no hype. African son for African sons and daughters, don't get caught up. Just remember the words of Marcus, it or Barry Corpus. Them cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Can I deceive what eyes we see the lights? Ready to see the light?
All right, especially that first part with all the consonants. So this is without.
Them cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Can I deceive what eyes we see the lights? Ready to...
This is with it.
Them cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Can I deceive what eyes we see the lights? Ready to see the light? Give me the visa price, we need.
All right, again, the Fatso is an amazing, the harsher analog just by running material through it. But the warm circuit is really what soften everything without taking energy away. Actually, the transformer adds to it. So let's hear the comparison with none of the machines and then both of them at the same time.
Them cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Can I deceive what eyes we see the lights? Ready to see the light? Give me the visa price, we need a flight. No, we don't need no hype. African son for African sons and daughters, don't get caught up. Just remember the words of Marcus, it or Barry Corpus.
All right, again, it's subtle. We are mastering. We're not gonna turn them inside out, but they're definitely smoother and fit better. You will hear the end result. One thing that I also noticed in these background vocals, especially when everything is going, I should probably do this and play it a little bit with the analog. So with the processing that we have up to this point, nothing on the lead vocal, but all together so you can hear it.
Cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Them can deceive what eyes we see the lights. Ready to see the light? Give me the visa price, we need a flight. No, we don't need no hype. African son for African sons and daughters, don't get caught up. Just remember the words of Marcus, it or Barry Corpus.
All right, they are fine, but they are narrow. They kinda are on top, on the back of the lead vocal, and I want them a little out of the way, which also adds a little bit of depth and soundstage to the entire song. So I used Dr. MS, and I did some stereo manipulation with the spacecraft that's part of the analog chain, but specifically on the background vocals, I want them a little wider, not only to get them out of the way of the vocals, but also to enhance the entire song. So this is them without it.
Them cinematic fast depiction of the topic. Can I deceive what eyes see the lights? Ready to see the light? Give me the visa price, we need a flight. No, we don't need no hype. African son for African sons and daughters, don't get caught up. Just remember the words of Marcus, it or Barry Corpus.
Right, massive difference. Okay, so what did I do? I boosted the width a little bit, just it starts at 100, so it's 112, so just a little bit. But the key is in the focus section here, the zoom and the delay. So first of all, on this section, I high passed everything at 230 something, so I don't need to process whatever is below that. And then I added a little bit of zoom and a little bit of delay. That is totally by ear. There's no rules. You need to pay attention to phase. You need to pay attention to a lot of things. This is not an easy processor to use, but it does magic. So again, with and without first.
Them cinematic false depiction of the topic. Can I deceive what eyes we see the lights? Ready to see the light? Give me the visa price, we need a flight. No, we don't need no hype. African.
All right, if we listen to everything, and again, nothing on the lead, and the processing up until here for the background vocals. So pay attention to the on-off button.
Them cinematic false depiction of the topic. Them can I deceive what eyes we see the lights? Ready to see the light? Give me the visa price, we need a flight. No, we don't need no hype. African son for African sons and daughters. Don't get caught up. Just remember the words of Marcus. It's where we come.
All right, so that helped already, and then we have a little trim. I just was playing with the level, fine-tuned the level, and then after that I have the Nova GE with just one band enabled, but if we open the menu, we can see that it's automated. It's automated to further take care of that low harmony that we had at the beginning, and especially on this particular spot here, it was pretty loud. So without, it sounds like this.
You
heard how loud that is? And that is also because the lead vocal is not treated yet, and it adds up that range, the 240. But listen to how loud that background vocal is. All right, with it. It literally is louder than the lead vocal, right? So it can happen. And it's only on that spot. So as you can see, I still have the band active the entire time, but on that particular spot, it needed to be clamped down. And if we get there from here, you can see the automation.
Me receive when the spirit spake. It's the Vatican regime, born up in a fame. Them say no hesitate. Me say gun protect my head. Cause down you in a room, too much blood I run red. Pan to you, one go build your homestead. No study where the beast.
Right, the automation is just the threshold that is lowered so it can catch that one spot. That's all for the background vocals. Now we can take a look at the lead, and you probably heard that now that the background vocals have a little more brightness, they are wider, and as you probably listen to it more and more, you start noticing what this boxiness and this kind of too heavy energy in the 200 range and in the low mid range for the vocal. And the problem is that it's not always there. It only comes out in certain words, like often happens on vocals. So two things. The first one, as you can see, there are a couple of bad spikes. One is here, one is here. This is the worst. And this was eating a lot of headroom for absolutely no freaking reason. So I just took care of this with a little bit of clipping, K-clip, just to make sure that that wasn't causing me problems later down the line. So this is absolutely, you cannot hear it.
Them can deceive with eyes, we see the lights, ready to see the light, give me the visa.
That's it. It doesn't even register. So that's just to take care of the nominal level. Boxiness problem, I again treated it with vocal EQ, which is really an amazing plugin. And we can start on the verse, which is probably a lot more obvious.
What day before me rise from me pillowcase, man get a vision like a dream, but me still awake.
You hear this? This is the resonance that we don't like, right? And it's clear. I can open an EQ and show it to you.
What day before me rise from me pillowcase, man get a vision like a dream, but me still awake.
Right? That's annoying a little bit. And we treated it because it changes as the note change. Vocal EQ was the right tool. With it,
what day before me rise from me pillowcase, man get a vision like a dream, but me still awake. What a mission me receive when the spirit spake. It's the Vatican regime, burn up in a flame. Them say no hesitate.
Right, there's still a little bit. And if you notice, I have two bands. The band number 4, which is centered around 500, is static. That probably was a resonance on the mic baskets, we don't know. Or the room, we don't know. But that's static, that's always there. And then the second one moves around, is band number 3, and it's tracking, okay? And I'm knocking down about 860 dB.
What day before me rise from me pillowcase, man get a vision like a dream, but me still awake. What a mission they receive when the spirit spake.
Okay, so we treated that and it's a lot better, but there's more processing happening. Again, S's need to be taken care of a little bit because we have some speedy sounds.
What day before me rise from me pillowcase, me get a vision like a dream, but me still awake. What a mission me receive when the spirit spake. It's the Vatican regime burn up in a flame.
You've seen it, just a very few spots, so I'm not de-essing the entire thing. Because S's are important for intelligibility of what the singer says. So you can't dual them too much. You lose the brightness, okay? So just here and there, really fine-tuning it just to catch those that pop out a little more. And also I have another plugin, Arbiter, which we're gonna see later to take care of the harshness overall, which is a magic plugin. So I rather use that for overall smoothness than do too much the lead vocal, okay? After that I have EQ1 from Vice again, because that frequency there that we said is around 250, 270, it's still a little bit there. So I statically removed another dB there. And you would say, why you didn't do it with vocal EQ? I didn't do it with vocal EQ because this, as you can see, comes before the analog unit that we have there, which is the RIA. So I put the compressor on because I needed a little more density on the lead vocal, and this 270 popped out a little more. And so I added the EQ because I don't want to mess with the tracking of the vocal EQ or add another band there, because I like how the vocal was up until this point. All right, and after that, I have a piece of analog, which is right here on the 500 series, but we can take a look at the plugin, and I have the RIA, because I wanted a little bit of control, but for a vocal like this, I don't want anything aggressive. I don't want like a distressor or 76 or something like that. So a Varimu was the right choice, and specifically the RIA is because it's got a really nice shine, very modern top end. I absolutely love it. And it happens when you start pushing the input, as you can see here. So push the input, compensate for the output a little less because we are compressing it, and then pretty fast attack, super fast release because it's a Varimu, so it's very natural. You won't hear it pumping, and it's just a really nice, slightly colored dynamic control. Without
They receive when the spirit spake. It's the Vatican regime burn up in a flame. Them say no hesitate. Me say Ekungun protect my head. Cause down here in a room too much blood I run red.
Okay, you should hear in particular the low end information, so the end of the words coming out and being a little more intelligible, especially when everything is playing.
Said I had a vision of them system burning, burning and burning. Yes, I had a vision of the tables turning. Children around the world, now is the time, this is the year of return. Yes, I had a vision of the system burning, burning and burning.
Right, you heard two things when I disengage. As soon as I disengaged it in this last portion here, we had a vowel popping out too much, and the words in that blob here and this part, they got lost. Okay, so if we play it again without it.
Turning and turning, African children around the world. Now is the time, this is the year of return. Yes, I had a vision of the system burning, turning on.
And with it.
Now is the time, this is the year of return. Yes, I had a vision of the system burning. Right,
you still leave the natural flow that he has, but it's a little more compact and polished. At this point, we go out to our mastering chain, the whole thing. So all three stamps get summed into this. And on this one, we have a little bit of 542s for a little rounder, richer low end, just a tiny bit, no transformers, just a tape bump. We have the fusion for the HF compressor, so just smoothing out the overall harshness and hard sounds. We have one band, 1 dB cut at 260 on the SPL, because that area was still a little too stuffy. And then we have our NG2BQ, which is right here, for just a little bit of bottom end. We have 1.25 dB at 33 with a fairly wide bell. We have 1.25 dB at 18K, just a top shelf on the mid channel, because I have it in mid side. In fact, as you can see, I don't have the low boost on the side portion of it, but I have instead a little more boost on the top end, 1.75, and instead of being 18K is a 5K, so it opens up a little bit the guitars, what's in the instrumental part. And then I have filters, 13 hertz for the low end, 27 for the mid band, and 29, basically 30 hertz for the top end. So I'm not even touching the audible range, but I want to limit the bandwidth because after the NG2BQ, we're going into the NG bus compressor for compression. We can also take a look at the plugin, but it's right here. And this one is barely hitting the mix. And as you can see, my sidechain, this is very important, is not a normal high pass. It's the T1 settings, which basically tilts the low end down, the mid-range up, and the top end a little higher, okay? So very much like the API 2500 mid settings for the thrust. So it's triggered by everything that is in the high mid-range and top before anything else. 15 attack, so fairly slow attack and fast release. Minimal THD, so I didn't color too much, also because we have the 2BQ in it, which is colored already, and this is how much we are compressing.
Now is the time, this is the year of return. Yes, I had a vision of the system burning, burning, and burning. I don't know why we've been moved like Nairobi traffic.
All right, if you hear these two pieces of analog really give the polish and the smoothness in the high range. Of course, there's also the HF compressor, which pops out here and there. You can imagine, we've seen that many times, and I can put the camera there, but I want you to hear, and I'm gonna bypass for now the spacecraft on the moon, which also does something. I'm actually gonna let you hear piece by piece. So we start with the 542s. This is quite minimal. Pay attention to the low end.
The tables turning, turning, and turning. African children around the world. Now is the time, this is the year of return. Yes, I had a vision of the system burning, burning, and burning. I don't know why we've been moved like Nairobi.
Okay, it gives us a little bit of this round saturation on the entire thing, and then it brings up a little more the kick and the bass, but it kind of feels like it gels them together because the amount that I'm putting in is not even the first notch. So it's just to give the color of the unit to the entire mix. After that, there's the HF compressor and the PQ. I'm gonna show you both of them.
African children around the world. Now is the time, this is the year of return. African children around the world. Now is the time, this is the year of return.
Okay, you heard and saw is just the harsh consonants and the louder vowels, basically. That's what triggers it. Then we have the 1 dB at 260 here on the SPL. You won't even hear it, especially on YouTube, but I will boost at least one channel so you can hear what resonance I'm grabbing with it.
Burning and burning. I don't know why we've been moved like Nairobi traffic. Mental slave get recruit and it's very tragic. I and I them rebuke to restore the magic. And I liberate the youth from the cinematic false depiction of the topic. Them cannot deceive our eyes, we see the lies. Ready to see the light. Give me the visa price, me need a flight. No man I need the hype. African son for African sons and daughters. Don't get caught up, just remember the words of Marcus.
Just a little cleaner, especially when we go push the song to commercial level. That was resonating a little bit. After these two, we have the NG2BQ. So a little bit of bottom, a little bit of mid-side EQ on the top end. Let's hear him with the without.
Burning and burning. I don't know why we've been moved like Nairobi traffic. Mental slave get recruit and it's very tragic. I and I them rebuke to restore the magic. And I liberate the youth from the cinematic false depiction of the topic. Them cannot deceive our eyes, we see the lies. Ready to see the light. Give me the visa price, me need a flight. No man I need the hype. African son for African sons and daughters. Don't get caught up, just remember the words of Marcus. It's a rare corpus. And a vision of them system burning, burning and burning. Yes,
All right, just a little bit of energy in the mid-range and the top, what makes it pretty, right? And also we have a little bit of stereo widening because of the mid-side EQ. Tiny bit more bump on the low end. What really glues everything together is the NG bus comp. We saw the settings earlier, so we can hear with and without.
burning and burning. I don't know why we've been moved like Nairobi traffic. Mental slave get recruit and it's very tragic. I and I them rebuke to restore the magic. And I liberate the youth from the cinematic false depiction of the topic. Them cannot deceive our eyes, we see the lies. Ready to see the light. Give me the visa price, me need a flight. No man I need the hype. African son for African sons and daughters. Don't get caught up, just remember the words of Marcus. It's a rare corpus. And a vision of them system burning, tables turning, turning.
Besides the tone and the glue of this compressor, the one thing that you can rewind the video and pay attention to it is that because it gets triggered basically by the high mid-range and mid-range, because we have the sidechain in T1 position, it doesn't react to the low end. So the low end is nice and flowy, and the compressor only gets triggered when the kind of harsh parts kick in, and it keeps everything well controlled without choking anything. Is fast enough, the release, so we don't hear it pumping, we don't hear anything. It's a VCA, so it's fairly clean. The only color that we have is the THD, which is minor, and I'm not using the iron, so we're not using extra transformers on it. So it's really a nice glue. And then we have Arbiter, like I said earlier. This, I talked about this plugin before, amazing plugin by Tokyo Dome Lab. It's basically, we can say a dynamic EQ, because that's basically what it is. The problem is it doesn't work like a dynamic EQ, which gets triggered when a certain frequency exceeds the absolute threshold. This one, you can see there's a weighting here, right, that you can change. Right now I'm not touching it, so I'm not gonna mess things up. But it basically reacts and is calibrated, it's weighted, very much like human hearing. And it basically ducks whatever frequency you want. In this case, I have 3 different bands, when they get too loud compared to the rest. So if something is isolated at a certain moment, and a certain moment there's nothing that masks it, that makes it organic, and it pops out too much, then when it ducks the material, which is genius. I love this plugin so much. Let's see what it does, and let's hear it with and without.
Cause them system only built for deceive ya. I've seen the beauty from Zimbabwe to Kenya. Bring your black dollars, cause they figure spend. Them only tell we about Hotel Rwanda. I've seen Kigali in its beauty and splendor. The ancestors give we vision for the future. Bantu nation, they on the move, yeah.
Amazing. I'm fascinated just looking at it, because how well it works. You can clearly hear it when there are some words that falls when there's no music, or maybe there's just a hit of a snare, because it's a syncopated, rhythm. And so when those words are so exposed, that's when the Arbiter turned them down. It's really an amazing plugin.
Cause them system only built for deceive ya. I've seen the beauty from Zimbabwe to Kenya. Bring your black dollars, cause they figure spend.
With it,
I've seen the beauty from Zimbabwe to Kenya. Bring your black dollars, cause they figure spend.
And it's so freaking smooth. That's the thing. It doesn't annihilate. It just massages them down. It's like an amazing plugin. So I could boost a little more on the top end and use the NG 2BQ, because it has a little life at the top end, which I needed. I want this to be as bright and pretty as possible without hurting your ears, okay? This is why you see a lot of push and pull, a lot of boosting the top end, and then de-essing or dynamic EQing, and then doing it again on another stage. Because first of all, it's all different frequencies, and then that's how you reach the nice and polished that you can turn as loud as you want without bleeding through your ears, okay? After that, I have the Tokyo Dome Lab filters. This is a utility, basically, plugins, because I just want to make sure when I come back in from my analog chain, I want to make sure, especially because I'm working at higher sample rates, I don't want any potential problems. So I am cutting with ultrasonic 19.8. I'm using Nyquist 0 and dynamic gate, which means only when material that should or could be a problem over 20 can bounce back into the hearing range. That's when the filter is active. And at the bottom end, this is not just a filter. I am cutting, so to speak, at 20, but I'm also adding this even harmonics at the corner frequency. And this plugin is amazing because it also has a dynamic bump, just in case you cut higher, and every time like a kick hits or a bass note hits, it bumps the corner frequency. You can add even or hot harmonics, sub-harmonics, again, just in case you cut a little higher than 20. Maybe you need to cut a 28, but you don't want to lose that bottom end. So it has all these options to re-add the energy, but controlling the actual extension of the low end and maybe cutting something that you don't need in that case. And also you have a percentage for energy. This you won't hear it unless you have mains and you'd like super focus on it. And yeah, that's all the processing that we have. We can listen to the mix versus the master again. really quick.
The system burning, burning and burning. 1 year before me rise from the pillowcase, and get a vision like a dream, but me still awake. What a mission they receive when the spirit speak. It's the Vatican regime, but up in a fame. Them say no hesitate, me say Ekungu.
You now probably hear the vocal that sounds like this in the mix now that you heard it, you know, isolated, and we focus on the issues even more. But yeah, this is it. There's gonna be the additional content for members, which is gonna be the loudness part. So we're gonna see what processings I use to bring this to commercial levels. And this is it for this video. If you're watching it on YouTube regular channel, I hope you liked the video. I hope it was useful. And if you did like it, please don't forget to leave a like, comment down below. If you want to access the additional content, click the join button, become a MixBuzz TV member. If you want to book mix and mastering with me, go to the website mixbuzztv.com. In there, you can also find over 20 mix and mastering courses, pretty much like this, a lot more in-depth. And if the videos are helping you, please consider using the super thanks or grab some merch. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Stay safe. See you next time.